Hello YouTube, Reddit Math here, and welcome back to Dark Souls 3. In today's episode, we're going to be doing some things a little bit different today. You'll notice I'm back in Firelink Shrine. We've just defeated another one of the Lords of Cinder in beating Aldrich, and I definitely want to come back here and do some NPC talking. I've got a ton of souls and I need to level up. You'll notice I actually have maybe a few more souls than I did at the end of the last episode. I did some sightseeing before starting today's recording, and I actually came across some cool stuff that I want to show off. Also thought about this a little bit. I'm going to grab 15 int, which will allow me to now cast Great Magic Weapon, and then I think I'm going to do 2 points in Dex and 2 points of Endurance. Going to try to use the Great Sword a little bit more. Oh, I could do one more, but that leaves me with like... Yeah, let's do one more, and that'll leave me with very, very little in the way of additional souls. One thing I do want to point out, though, the Great Sword of Judgment scales with a C in intelligence. If I grab, like, 5 points here, it goes up to 292. If I grab 5 points here, it goes up to 294, even though it has a D scaling in dexterity. I don't understand entirely how scaling is working in Dark Souls 3. Clearly, it scales a bit better with the D in Dex than it scales with the C in Intelligence. That'll leave me about 1,200 souls, which I'm hoping... You know what? Let's actually talk to her first. I'm hoping is enough to still level up the weapon.
Welcome, speak.
But...
Ashen One. To be unsovereign, I will Ashen.
Yeah, that's nothing new. Okay. Let's head over here and see if we've got enough Titanite scale to reinforce a weapon. We need 2,200. Of course, I've spent too many souls. We'd also need 4 Titanite scale, so I guess that's not happening anytime soon. And the S-Dock needs chunks. We haven't seen chunks at all, so that's unlikely to happen anytime soon. I guess I could go ahead, grab like +6 for the Black Blade. Why not? I guess I've gotten a couple of chunks so far. I've got that to +7. And Andre hasn't had anything to say in basically the whole game. He's
pretty be careful. I don't want to
plot irrelevant, as it were. In that case, key items. Oh, we do have a coal. Okay, well, I guess we give him the coal then.
Just what neat.
Of course, our giant friend.
My. The coal of that peaceable giant. Seems like ages passed. I imagine his passing was long ago. I miss the old bugger, I do. My thanks. I'll be sure this coal is put to good use. I'll be smithing weapons never afore seen by the likes of ye. It's but a small service to pay my humble respects.
So you knew him? I don't even know what connotations that has. I'm assuming that's going to give us like lightning. Yeah, we can do lightning infusing now. Okay, that's fair.
Pretty be careful, I don't.
I don't know that really too much else could be said to us. Let's go ahead and place our ashes of the Lord of Cinder here on, I think this one of the Aldriches over here. Looks kind of wet, which I guess seems appropriate for him. Yeah, and it just sort of becomes this malformed, half-dissolved skull. And in fact, are those not maggots everywhere? Or, I don't know that we have any of these spells, but I've seen the description on load screens where, like, the spell that causes, like, bleed, where it's a swarm of insects that are, like, from the deep. I wonder if it's not those creatures. Huh. And then we're going to need to get back up here in order to talk to our other Lord of Cinder friend. And before we do that, let's actually check out the Soul of Aldrich. Steep in strength, when Aldrich ruminated on the fading of the fire, it inspired visions of a coming age of the deep sea. He knew the path would be arduous, but he had no fear. He would devour the gods himself. Lovely.
Aha, thou returned, and a fine day it is. So, happen...
I have, in fact. What does Aldrich's soul give me? Gotta be here somewhere. There we go. Okay. Life Hunt Scythe steals HP of foes using an illusory scythe. Aldrich dreamt as he slowly devoured the god of the dark moon. In this dream, he perceived the form of a young, pale girl in hiding. Okay, so Aldrich, as much as I would like it to be so, is not Gwendolyn, was trying to eat Gwendolyn. I would say it appeared he was failing, and that Gwendolyn had very much sort of won that struggle a little bit, and was still in control. Or possibly he ate him, and then, you know, the power of Gwendolyn was such that he sort of took on that form. But I do find it interesting that he perceived the form of a young, pale girl in hiding. Yorshka? I don't remember her name exactly, but the Covenant leader for the Dark Moonblades. Presumably it was her. Huh. Okay. So some connection, certainly between Gwendolyn and presumably Priscilla. That is fairly interesting. We also get... There we go. Dark Moon Longbow. Longbow of Dark Moon Gwendolyn, who was gradually devoured by Aldrich. This golden bow is imbued with powerful magic and is most impressive with moonlight arrows. Use a readied arrow with Dark Moon Essence, granting it magic damage and the ability to pierce shields. Now, another thing I would like to point out, this one, maybe? It's dark blue hues deeper than the darkest moon. The fact that it says that it's deeper than the darkest moon makes me wonder if it's unrelated to the dark moon, and some other power, in fact. Considering it's the Great Sword of Judgment, my immediate thought there is then that it's powered by Velka, known for being a goddess of judgment. What his connection would be to her is interesting, due to the fact that he was sort of a sorcerer posing as a holy man. Works there a little bit. From Dark Souls 1, Velka's items were very, for example, a talisman for casting miracles, but using intelligence for the scaling, which is kind of a sorcerer posing as a holy man kind of thing going on. I don't know what further implications are there or any at all, but I definitely find it interesting. I don't think I'm going to be crafting either the scythe or the Dark Moon Longbow. I don't think we're going to need that. Although, that might not be too bad for us, actually. We might end up replacing the Black Bow of Ferris with that. If I had 5,000 souls, I'd do it now. We'll maybe worry about it a little bit later. I think the big problem, of course, is I'm never going to have enough Titanite scale for keeping 2 boss weapons upgraded. Right now, the Great Sword of Judgment is just a +2 weapon, so it's maybe going to struggle a little bit here. Next stop, we've got a few of these in today's episode. The next stop, we're going to bounce back to the Aldrich boss arena. We've still got the area immediately after it. I'm assuming is a quick dead end, but I was out of Estus flasks and a little afraid for my life whenever I finished the boss fight. So if there is any nasty surprise ahead of us, I'd like to be prepared for that, but it could just be a small diversion. I'm not expecting, an illusion of Guinevere to be up there. We do still see, this is kind of interesting. Oh, it's both of them are there. Okay, so we've still got the statue of Gwyn and the statue of Guinevere, and then the third missing slot, which presumably was Gwyn's firstborn son, named stricken from the annals of history, kind of thing. This was the statue that I very quickly attacked, and it turned out to be an illusory wall, so we didn't get much time to look at it. Oh, okay, that's just the elevator. I was like, what is that horrible sound? Also, interesting to note, the ground in here just littered with bodies. Presumably all snacks of Aldrich. It also made some observations the first time I saw it, really, of all of this sort of decay and rot that's on the stonework. I'm going to assume that that's a byproduct of just, Aldrich's passing, like him moving through areas and that sort of thing. Ew. There's even... Are those not, like, worms, or are they supposed to be tree roots? I don't even know. Oh, that's awful, though. Alright, so there's some pretty disgusting stuff going on here, and certainly the bodies that Aldrich had consumed were maybe innumerable. So we've got our familiar tiny elevator on this side. Let's see what's up top, shall we? Nothing back that way. In Dark Souls 1, the mirror image of this on the other side would have contained a little bit of loot. And this time, not so much. Ooh. These were not connected in Dark Souls 1, were they? Like it was just one side or the other? That's a little interesting. Okay, enough stalling. Let's head on to the former... I can't really even call it a throne room, but the former place of the false Guinevere. Doors are already open for us this time, and certainly an item is in waiting. None of these are doors or anything, right? That would be just too easy. Okay. Ah, the Sun Princess ring. That makes sense. So previously you would come in, speak to her. She would give you the opportunity to join the Sun Princess Covenant, and if you did, you would be granted the ring. The ring granted miracle synergy bonuses. The synergy system is not something that has been used in Dark Souls 2 or 3, to the best of my knowledge anyway. Ring associated with Guinevere, Princess of Sunlight and eldest daughter of Gwyn, the First Lord. This ring is vaguely warm, like a beam of sunlight, and gradually restores HP. Guinevere left her home with a great many other deities and became a wife and mother, raising several heavenly children. That is interesting. No mention of Flame Lord Fan, something like that. So without the synergy system, it instead, I think, just kind of harkens back to Bountiful Sunlight, which was a covenant reward of the Princess Guard covenant that would gradually restore HP. All right. With that completed, I believe the proper way to go would be back towards the dungeon below Irithyll, heading to the distant manor. However, we're going to do some sightseeing. Buckle in, prepare yourselves. There's a method to my madness, and bear with me while it pays off. I'm first going to stop by the Pontiff Suleiman boss fight, and we're going to head back out towards Irithyll. And the reason for this is actually what I was doing when I accumulated the extra souls that I had before the start of this episode is it had piqued my curiosity whether or not the reveal of Anor Londo could be spotted early, or if it was truly just gonna, come out of left field for you. Now, let's quickly dispatch these guys so that they don't murder us later. That's real annoying. At least... okay. I was about to say, at least the greatsword staggers. But I believe I ran out of stamina a little bit there. Really? I don't think these guys have ever given me as much trouble as this one is giving me right now. And in fact, the last time I came out here and fought him, he was super easy and I just murdered him without a second thought. Okay. Alright, sorcerer guy with his fancy sword. Usually, I just did this. Sidestep, backstabbed, they died. Who knew? It takes a little bit of brain power to talk, apparently. Alright, so coming out here and looking up towards what we now know as Anor Londo. So that's the prison tower directly in front of us. And this is the spinning bridge. Now, From Software is cheating a little bit here, and there's some very low cloud cover that obscures the top of it, preventing you from really getting a good look at that and knowing what you're going to be walking into. You can just make it out, and maybe if it was lowered a little bit, you might be able to guess, but I don't think so. I think they're playing their cards a little bit close to their chest there, and there's not a lot of chance to be spoiled. What I next want to take a look at is actually the start of Irithyll, and that same view, and it gets a little bit more clever in their application of it there. So let's head back to central Irithyll. This is going to be the area just after we cross the bridge, fought the first of several of what I'm going to dub crocodogs, the sort of long-snouted beast-like things that dropped one of the eyes of the pontiff. Again, if this was Bloodborne, that totally would have been the High Holy Man turned into a beast. So, next off on my sightseeing visit, I came to right here, and you'll notice the church tower is visible. That little ledge right there is actually going to be where the bonfire is located. But it is now... Is it? Or... kind of thinking, like, is it obscuring? Or is it still the fog? I originally thought it was the angle of that tower, but we might be just barely glancing the bridge coming out from it towards the church tower. And it could still be obscured by fog. Similarly, the actual like palace area is very much obscured. You are going to be able to get a pretty good view of the, like from here. From here, I think it might be more that the church is blocking its view. You are going to be able to get a pretty good view of the stairs leading up to it, where there are a couple of silver knights, but I don't think anybody's going to make the connection from here. The view is just too obscured by too many rolling clouds, all that sort of stuff. I do actually remember on my initial approach here standing and admiring what I thought was an Aurora Borealis effect over the city, but it is like 1,000% this force field, because as soon as you come through it, on the other side, there is no hint of that same lighting effect above the city. So yeah, it's definitely this field, and you can see it extending out like across the water, blocking it that way, and towards that sort of keep over there. That's going to be the distant manor and its bonfire. Presumably we're actually heading towards that as our next destination. Now, before I started recording, I was doing this exact same thing, and I was actually running across this bridge, trying to see if the angle on this ever changed, what you could see as you came into Irithyll for the very first time. And as I did this, and I crossed here, you'll recall this developer message. Bring a doll to be granted passage. But this is new. Touch sign requesting cooperation. That's interesting. I'm assuming... obviously, I'm playing offline, and so that's not any kind of player summon sign, but rather an NPC. We do not have a boss fight coming up, but touch sign requesting cooperation, not operation, tells me that maybe we're about to see ourselves summoned into an NPC's world. And if I can make some predictions so that, you know, I can be wrong and you can point and laugh at me later, as we have been heading towards the Aldrich fight, we've encountered Henri and Horace along the road. Now, they were looking to defeat and put Aldrich, you know, finally to a final resting place back at the Deacons of the Deep. We actually summoned them as NPCs into the Deacon fight, and then afterwards encountered them in Firelink Shrine, where they were disappointed that Aldrich was not there, and instead said that they were going to set off for like his original homeland, something to that effect, and that's what has led us here with the doll in tow. I have then lost track of Henri, found Horace down at the bottom of the smoldering lake. He had hollowed and gone mad. We had to put him down like a rabid dog, but Henri herself has gone missing. I'm hoping that this might explain a little bit about what is going on. No. Answer Cirrus of the Sunless Realms call for cooperation and be summoned as a phantom. Well, I guess I could have just pressed X and it would have told me what a stupid idea all that was. Okay. Cirrus, who we have also not seen in a while, clearly has some connections to the Dark Moon, so that would make sense for her to be here. All right, let's get to it. Being summoned to another world as Phantom. Now, it's interesting, we're at the very beginning of the area, so we're not being summoned into a boss fight. Unless maybe she's struggling with Crocodog. I wouldn't blame her. The guy can be a real pain. But I don't know what we're going to be doing here. This is kind of a first from a Dark Soulsian perspective. All right, so we've got a fog behind us. She is buffing. Whoa, Dark Spirit Creighton the Wanderer? It's been a while since I've seen you, my friend. You are not prepared for what is before you. Oh, that stung. Yeah, that stung. Okay. You and your lightning axe need to get away from me. You know what? Let's try some of this out. Oh, a little low on stamina. Okay. Cirrus, you wanna do anything? No? Okay. That's fine too. I can get the work done. Really? Her aim is just a little bit off. Alright. Well, it looks like this invader is certainly... in it for the long haul, as we are both healing a lot here. You know, I've also... maybe I should be using, you know, my better weapon. Wow, she does like 37 on a hit, whereas I do hundreds. Crichton, you're really starting to piss me off with that Estus use, my friend. Yeah, I think he was maybe... Actually, I don't think he was going for it again. I think he was about to Lloyd's Talisman and prevent healing. Okay, yeah, I've seen that move before. Can we just keep you staggered? That would be super cool. Oh, as it might mean you don't get an opportunity to heal. And Cirrus steals the final killing blow. Alright, duty fulfilled.
Thank you for your kind assistance. Blessing of the moon upon your journey.
Crichton the Wanderer defeated, returning to your world. Okay, so we sort of acted as a Blade of the Dark Moon here, right? Or as a Blue Sentinel coming in. Of course, Cirrus isn't in the right covenant for that, so I don't know. We kind of acted as a Blade of the Dark Moon. Someone invaded Cirrus, and then we showed up to help her fight Crichton off. I guess that was kind of the mechanic that's at play. So I wonder if she's going to be back at Oh, I've actually got a Estus shard there. I wonder if she's going to be back at Firelink now to talk about. I wonder... I've already beaten the boss of this area, so this probably isn't going to do anything. I wonder if Crichton would have, like, invaded me here. Obviously, well, I can't say that I was embered the first time I came across this bridge. Man, fighting Crocodog and Crichton at the same time would have been, like, real annoying. Also, that was worth practically no souls. I didn't notice how many we actually got, but we only have 2267 now, so nothing spectacular. No, and no Crichton. That's fair. Huh. That's very strange that he was brought back for that. I really liked Crichton in Dark Souls 2. His armor set was awesome. I liked his weapon. His characterization I thought was cool. He was clearly not a good guy, and kind of pitted up against Pate, the patches of Dark Souls 2, for an interesting matchup. You know, which of those two characters do you side with? One is a murderer, the other a murderer. Basically, there was no good guy in that relationship. I always thought that was pretty interesting. Yeah, and Sirius is back. Okay, what has she got for us?
I have not thanked you for your generous rescue. That dark spirit was one of Rosaria's fingers, vile bastard offspring who lurk in the darkness. My sworn enemies. Fearsome invaders, to say the least. I would not have made it alone. You have my deepest gratitude.
Ooh, Blessed Mailbreaker, Silver Cat Ring.
If you require help on your travels, I offer you my sign. Blessing of the moon upon your journey.
Hasn't she already offered us her sign? Did I misremember that? Actually... So I'm guessing the Silver Cat Ring does exactly what I think the Silver Cat Ring does, which is prevents damage from falling. In the Age of Gods, or possibly just following it, an old cat was said to speak a human tongue, with the voice of an old woman and the form of a fanciful immortal. That's great. Dark Souls 2 references there. That's very cool. Okay. Otherwise, the Blessed Mailbreaker, probably a little too late. I can't imagine, that's going to really be something I'm going to need with its 56 plus 7. Probably not. This hard, edgeless sword can pierce through tough armor and boasts a deadly critical attack. Small sword made for thrusting attacks. And has shield splitter. Let's just go ahead and store it. I don't think we're going to need it. And then, since I do have an extra Estus, what I would actually like to do here is maybe grab an Ashen Estus.
Tis what needs.
Why would I do that, you may ask? Well, I'd like to use my weapon arts a little bit more. And 10 healing Estus seems like more than enough for me to get by. I gotta equip it now. That would probably be worthwhile. Ashen Estus. Awesome. And let's get our throwing knives back just in case we happen to need them. Basically, my weapon art now is my ability to buff my sword. If at least for a few seconds, I can do a combo, something like that. And if I do that half a dozen times, I'm going to run out of FP, so it's probably worthwhile to consider. Now that basically does it for random assortment of things that I wanted to get done before heading over to the distant manor. And I'm thinking we're heading down towards the dungeon. Quite surprising to me, actually, that it was Cirrus that we encountered there. I wonder either what triggers that or when you are supposed to trigger that for that to make the most sense. I might want to poke around in other areas of Irithyll at this point, like to see if her summon sign ever becomes an option elsewhere. like super pitch black. I've definitely looked in this corner before and made that same observation, but it's still super pitch black. I'm thinking this is the way that we're actually going to go. And I have no idea what is down here. Alright. Oh, no. Item. Thought for a moment it was a crystal lizard. Was very wrong. So yeah, without knowing exactly what it is that cued that off, maybe... Am I a member of... I don't remember. No? I found the Dark Moons, but I'm not actually a Dark Moon Blade. That was a thought, but clearly not the right one. I tell you what, we're going to make this a little bit of a shorter episode, and I'm just going to kick off the next one from right here. My fear is, of course, that the next area might prove longer than I'm anticipating, and then we end up with some hour and a half thing that nobody wants to watch, and I also don't want to have to eventually render into a video, as that would mean several hours of my computer tied up. So instead, I will say my goodbyes here. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, a little bit of a detour and some tangents. If you did, feel free to subscribe. There's more on the channel every day. Leave a like or a comment if you have anything to say about this or any of my other videos, and I will catch you guys next time.